everybody. Welcome to the Harbor.Church podcast. I am here with two guests this week.
Yes.
Which happens occasionally.
Your two favorite people.
Well, two people that you're familiar with. We'll leave it at that. Pastor Josh and Kaleigh Adams.
That was about you, Kaleigh. She loves hanging out with me.
Kaleigh, before we get going, I'm guessing your microphone is maybe too far from your mouth. Am I right?
No.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring that in a wee bit.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
That's nice.
There you go.
Live adjustments, everyone. You just got to see behind the curtain.
Whoa.
Look at us. This is how the sausage is made right here.
Production.
Happening. Yeah.
Get closer to the mic.
We're doing it.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So we're in Ephesians. Thanks for being here, gang. We're continuing in this book of Ephesians, and this week's a little different. You haven't preached the message yet, but you're about to. So by the time our listeners are listening, they will have heard the message that you guys are doing as a team this weekend. Ephesians chapter 5. But you're still in prep phase. It's going to be a couple days until you actually do it live. So
Yeah, we still got to fight out some things.
Yeah.
I mean, figure out some things.
Yeah, we got to just discuss it,
You know?
like with civility and
Yeah,
humility.
it's never difficult or awkward or uncomfortable. So it's always a great time.
We don't get into like the biggest fights we've been in a while 3 days before we do a sermon together.
of course not.
Yeah,
Every single time.
at least it's a chapter on submission. So that's good.
So that's
And
good.
and love and sacrifice and respect.
Yep.
And
No, I want to key in on
giving
the
your life
submission piece.
the
Yes.
way that Christ
Yeah,
did.
the
There is that part.
Yeah, the mutual submit one to another. Yeah.
No, in all reality, Ephesians 5 is probably the most, either the most or the second most used passage in every wedding, every Christian wedding, you know. Very bluntly, Paul's like, yeah, husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. Like, here you go. Like, it's this beautiful picture of the church. But there's a lot more depth to Ephesians 5 than just, reading it at an occasional wedding every once in a while.
Yes. Yeah, and I read through it today just in preparation for this and to get some questions together, and there really is so much. Like, it is not just a chapter on marriage. There's a ton in there. And I want to dabble in as much of it as we can in our short amount of time together.
I think that'll probably be our biggest wrestling piece is Kaleigh and I don't get to speak very much together, very often together.
Yeah.
I asked her to come along this weekend because I wanted a female perspective, specifically of the voice of a wife, to also be speaking as we kind of look at the chapter. But there is way more to Ephesians 5 than just that section. And that's one of the things where, like, she's going to feel the weight of a little bit of what it's been like trying to do the last 4 chapters, where every verse has great content, and you can't get to it all. You just can't. You got to leave some stuff out there for the listener to go get into themselves.
Yeah, it's a ton.
Yeah, I tried to do a 90-minute study with the women a few weeks ago on the entire book of Ephesians. And spoiler alert, that was too much.
That's a lot.
That was way too much stuff for 90 minutes. So,
yeah, it's a real broad overview.
yeah,
Has to be. Yeah.
pretty much.
Well, actually, before we really dig into the chapter, I think that's kind of an interesting thing to get into just like as a couple, because we will be talking about marriage for at least part of this message. Do you guys study the Bible together ever? Do you only do it separately? Do you only do it together when you're preparing a message, which is very unrelatable to our listeners?
Let's be so specific about what the Adams do.
Yeah,
and
no, but
nobody
like,
else.
what does that look like in your relationship? Truly, just out of curiosity.
Well, unfortunately for Josh, what it most often looks like is that I'll be reading through something and then he'll walk in the door from a really long day and I'll go, "Have you ever read Ephesians 5 before?"
And I get a massive download of information all at once I get to egerly await.
And usually, I feel like
She's usually very, she's very low key about it.
Yeah, that's our Kaleigh.
I'm
Super
really
chill about stuff.
And I never once try to, insinuate that like I alone have finally understood it for the first time
In a way that you never could.
She's like, you won't believe the commentary I'm about to write on this book. And you're like, yeah, I may have heard that before.
But I would actually say, and correct me if I'm wrong or don't. Sorry. But I think maybe people assume that, like, oh, we are prepping for a message, and then that's kind of what prompts us to, like, look at a certain book of the Bible. But actually, almost every, including this one in Ephesians, I had been studying it for something separately and ended up, deciding that we needed to talk about it at 10 p.m.
Sure.
But that conversation kind of turned into, like, hey, would you like to teach with me? I'm going to be in Ephesians. Like, I think that's how we did a message on Job together. That's how that conversation happened. Like, it actually almost happens more often the other way around, where we're discussing something, and in that discussion we realize, like, we should let
Tandem
people
teach this, yeah.
Yeah, we should let people in on this.
Yeah, it's, I mean, obviously there's no coincidences with God. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
But often I'll be studying, like I'm already working on sermons for next year, and I've got the sermon calendar planned out. So there's like little things I'll just be studying in my free time and adding notes to those messages as they, kind of come together and take shape. And often God will use Kaleigh as a great sounding board or as an introductory piece of new information or new way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I just take it and roll that in and use that as I can. But every once in a while, it's like, hey, I really think this element deserves a second voice. And I also love for our church to get to see Kaleigh as a co-founder of our church. Obviously, she supports me as the lead pastor, but she's every bit as influential in our family ministering to Harbor.Church the way that people have come to see us. They just don't get to see Kaleigh doing it as often up front on the stage as they get to see me doing it. But it's no less a contribution or sacrifice on her part. And so I think it's a good reminder. This one seemed almost too obvious, Katie. It was like we're talking about husbands and wives as a big section of it. Yeah. And a lot of it is Paul saying, hey, I want the church to be an example of what it looks like. So the church is the bride, and all of the wives get to play the role of the church, this back and forth. And husbands, you as the groom get to play the role of Christ. And in that, the church is often flawed, and the bride is often flawed, and the groom is often flawed, except for the perfect groom of Christ. So now we're trying to find all these pictures coming together as a husband and wife. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk. Let's just... Yeah. Kaleigh and I by no means are giving a message as experts who have figured everything out and solved every problem. If anything, we're trying to help other couples and individuals save the stupid tax that we've paid.
Yeah. And kind of back to your question, Katie, like as of right now.
That's Kaleigh's way of saying I didn't answer the question.
Yeah, that's right. And we all felt it and we all liked it.
We don't, everyone kind of does it differently. And I don't necessarily think that there's like a right and a wrong way. For us at this particular season of our life, it doesn't look like, all right, it's Tuesday, let's sit down and read our Bibles together. It's a little bit more, okay, we're both independently reading through scripture, for different reasons and at different times. And then when we get a moment together, a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, like, just organically, like, hey, this is something I've really been thinking about. What do you think? And that is the cool part of, discussing those things with your spouse and having like a live-in like buddy. 'Cause there's definitely times where I'm asking God, like, okay, can you show me what this means? And I don't necessarily get like a super clear answer, but then in talking it through with Josh, God will kind of use him to like illuminate something, and I'll see it in a new way. So it's a cool thing that can kind of bring us closer together, and also give us I think ultimately like a better, more rounded view of Scripture.
Yeah, that's actually been one of my favorite parts of walking through Ephesians as a church. Is like knowing that the people around me are reading the same thing. And for me, I feel like that's a lot of what Paul is getting at, actually. There's so much about unity in the Holy Spirit, and like you guys have the same spirit that I have. Yeah. And if I treat it as a solo act, I'm only going to get what I get out of it. But man, like I'm reading through Ephesians with my best friend, and we just text each other every morning. And like every day it's like, man, like there are days when I'm like, well, I kind of didn't get a lot out of today. And then she'll text me and be like, oh, this is what God showed me. I'm like, dang, that's really good. And like I could have not received that information, and fine, I'm still reading my Bible on my own. It's still a good thing. But like there's so much more to be found when we are actually one body, the way that God designed us to be, and leaning on one another, whether that is a marriage or friendship or just people in church. Like there's just so much more to be gleaned as we're all on the same page and unifying.
Well, we do it in all these other areas. Like I was just talking with somebody about the Patriots, and we're like second guessing every move and why Coach Vrabel did this or why Drake May didn't do that. And like we all see and have commentary, and we're giving each other our theories, and our predictions. Or you watch a movie with a buddy, like, let me nerd out for a second. Like, I love, Lord of the Rings. And if I get around somebody else and we just talk fan theories and, here's what I love or here's what I've noticed. Have you noticed? It brings more to light and you fall in love with it and you're like, man, it's awesome. And yet then we get all real quiet and like insular and like very, very protective of what we're doing with the Bible. Yeah. Maybe because we're afraid that people will come across dumb or like we don't know. But it's the same thing. You get excited about it. I get excited about it. We can feed off of each other. Yeah. And in true Josh fashion, I did forget your original question and didn't answer it. But like we don't always study the same passage together. That doesn't mean I don't advocate for couples listening.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, do a Bible study together. Heck, just read Proverbs together or just get together and spend some time in God's Word. Definitely find time to pray together. Just lean into whatever that growth looks like as a couple, and it can be listening to a podcast together. Something so you're both at the same place. And yes, Kaleigh will be in a section of the Bible that I'm not actively in or currently in, and she can bring something from the outside, and that's great too. But I do love it when we're both, where God happens to lead us both to the same thing and we're like feeding off of each other because it feels like throwing fuel on a fire and it just is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And actually, so you just brought up, you were talking about, obviously a good chunk of this chapter is about marriage and the picture that God is drawing through marriage of Christ and the church and his bride. As someone who is not married, I wonder kind of what's the biggest pressure you feel on that? And like knowing that your relationship is meant to be like a living sermon, right? Like that's how God has designed it. Like where is that? Is that hard? Like do you ever feel the weight of that? Or is that something you don't think about very often? Like what's the reality of living that out on a day-to-day basis?
So you mean more not outside of preaching it on Sunday?
Yeah, no, like as a regular husband and wife, we'll pretend that you're normal people for a second.
It'll be difficult to do.
Yeah, so hard. But like, like as you're with your kids and when you're out and about and you're hanging out with other couples, like the reality of the situation is you are meant to be displaying the gospel in the way you interact with one another.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that's always the reality of what's happening for any couple, but like, do you feel the way of that? Do you think of that? Should you think of it more? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious.
It's funny, and this is not, unfortunately, this is not going to answer your question.
Sure, I don't expect my questions to be answered. I'm
obviously,
just
we just kind of go off on whatever tangents we want to go on. But actually, the weight of that weirdly, it's reverse. So rather than feeling like, oh, the fact that our marriage is supposed to be this picture of the gospel, rather than viewing that as like this bar that like I feel this pressure to live up to. More often, I find it as like a promise that I take comfort in. So the times when, maybe our marriage is a little bit tough or maybe things aren't going so well, it's actually been a huge comfort to me to kind of in prayer go back to God and go, okay, God, I know that our marriage is supposed to be a picture of you in the church, which means that our marriage is supposed to be mutually loving and respectful and harmonious and beneficial. And maybe right now it's not living up to that. But God, I know that that's not your desire. Yeah. Your desire is not that like we're in like a sad, unhappy marriage.
Right.
Your desire is that we stay together and that we make that a beautiful picture of you in your church. So God, what am I missing?
That's really good.
To make it look like that. So rather than, I think it could absolutely, if you viewed it as a pressure, just make you feel really burdened, and I would imagine that would be very difficult.
Yeah.
But truly, more often for me, especially in times where our marriage was in a place that was a little bit tougher, I actually really viewed that as like a promise that I really held on to, and God kind of used that to help open my eyes of like, okay, well, here's the places where you're falling short, and here's how I'm gonna like work in you to help your marriage look more like this picture of the gospel.
Yeah, that's cool. It's encouraging. You have any thoughts?
I was going to go the other way with it. Like,
our marriage is bad.
It's terrible.
No.
And I'm dying under the weight.
No, back to your original question, though. Like, I would love for it to be motivating. And it is when I can get there mentally, like, okay, hey, I want us to do this. I think everybody, whether they're even if they're not a Christian, they want their marriage to be happy. They want their marriage to be good. Sure. Having a standard of, man, like, God's called me to be a representative of him, of what it looks like to sacrificially love and pursue and take care of his bride. yeah, that is good motivation. I've found it to be more of a standard by which I can see when I drift away. Not that I couldn't do better living up to it, but often I really take note when I've gone the opposite direction. I think a lot of guys and girls too would be like, "Oh, I love this person. I'm doing the best I can to love them. I love them." And,
Sure.
you know, and your level of love is about all that you can recognize, but you can definitely see it when you do the opposite of love them.
Yeah.
And it's and this is going to sound dumb, but like when Kaleigh and I have publicly, and by publicly I mean like even just in front of a couple of our friends.
Yeah.
I mean, probably you, Katie.
Definitely you.
When we have missed the mark
Yeah.
of being examples of the church in Christ, because we are two broken human beings,
Yeah.
and especially the closer we are to somebody like our own family members, close friends, you let your hair down. Well, they're going to also see your dirty laundry.
Right.
And when people see Kaleigh and I disagree, or not even, even sometimes lightheartedly just mistreat each other, which I'm not trying to make an excuse for, but man, that's where it really sticks to me. That's where it's really like, hey, not only did you not live up to this beautiful picture you could have been showing people, but you actually did damage in the other direction. Like, this is not Josh. Josh, this is not how God would treat his bride.
Yeah.
Kaleigh, this is not how the church should respond to Christ. And so I can see that almost faster than I can the inspiration of like, oh, let me do better. And I do want to do better, but and maybe that's just the way I'm wired, that I can quickly see how far we missed the mark. And man, that's a gut check. And I've had to go back and apologize to some of our friends
Sure.
and family members and being like, I'm sorry that I was so far away from what it was I was called to be, what I'm called to be as an example.
Yeah.
What really bothers me is when it's around people who don't know Christ, because they don't know how loving and patient Christ is.
Right.
And if I'm supposed to be a picture of that, I often am missing a great opportunity to do better.
Yeah, that's good. Well, solid opener.
Yeah,
And you
real-
both did
real
answer my
negative, real-
question.
Real
And like
downer
whenever
question.
you're ready
Thank
to
you.
apologize for me, let me know.
Katie's like, I'm still waiting.
Just been waiting.
No. Most of the time when you leave, we're like, it's Katie's fault that we were fighting.
Wow, being around her is a drain on our relationship.
We would be so much happier if Katie Rose hadn't. She started that fight. Like, that's usually at the end. 2-3 hours later, we're like, was it Katie? It was Katie. Yeah.
No, a funny like little known fact is that for the first 2 years of Harbor's existence, the Harbor offices were upstairs in our home.
Yes.
And so there was just a full 2 years where like, I think Katie Rose saw every fight we had.
I was in it.
Like, not just
Yep.
that she saw some, it's like, if we had a fight in the year, 2016 and
Yeah, I
2017,
was there
Katie
for
saw
it.
it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay. Okay.
And that's why I'm not married. No, I'm just kidding.
She's like, do you guys want me to like take a coffee break? We're like, that's fine. We're fine.
That's
Let's
weird.
go."
I'm getting a phone call.
Looks like I gotta leave.
Yeah. Oh, I have a
So the fact
meeting.
that Katie's, still here, our friend, is really, it's a sign of the Lord's goodness. If nothing else, Katie loves us the way Jesus does, even if we don't
Right,
love
right.
each other that way.
doing my
You know what?
best.
That's a great point.
No, and I do think there's like even a healthiness to like, even in, I think when you do miss the mark, as we all do, like being on the other side of it, to watch you two reconcile or watch you reconcile with your kids or whoever. And I don't mean it just about you. There's lots of people in my life, and I do it in my own way all the time, even if not in marriage. Like, to get to see kind of the turning point and the repentance is almost as
Yeah.
important as seeing you guys having it together. To know, like, yeah, that too is a picture of Christ in the church, because the church is full of broken people, and like, get ready to mess up and need to turn back. Like, that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a surprise, and it's a beautiful thing to see it happen in a healthy manner. And on that, actually, one of the I wrote questions for these that I think are fun that you guys are probably gonna hate.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry. I'm having
Yeah.
there's like a wire touching me, and my hair is touching my. I'm just having a.
Are you overstimulated?
I'm having a
Yeah.
sensory meltdown.
Yeah,
over
there's
here.
a lot
So-
of big lights on in
So
here
just try
too.
to ignore me just bugging out every
Tweaking
few.
out.
Oh, thank you.
Chris is here to help.
Chris is the best.
Yeah, you did it.
Look at that. It's like turning the kitchen fan off. I'm like, oh, everything's better. Wow. Okay. Sorry, Katie.
Surreal.
Sorry.
I feel that. One of the things that Paul writes about in Ephesians 5 is something that I hear quoted often, which is don't let the sun go down on your anger. Does that literally mean you should not go to sleep angry?
That's a great question.
So, a funny fact that I once heard someone say, I once heard someone try to argue that he was actually saying, no, that's an idiom, meaning like, don't let the sun set on your anger, like let your anger burn forever with like passion. And I was like, I don't think.
Do not ever let your anger rest.
Never stop being angry is what Paul was trying to say.
Maybe
That
you're
is-
not.
That's a wild interpretation.
I don't like to tell people how to read the Bible, but I think you're doing it wrong. Anyway, I just thought that was very funny.
That is funny.
Thoughts besides that?
So I think there's some good that has come out of that where people are like, oh, you just can't go to bed angry. I think from an application standpoint of you need to see things resolved. Absolutely. I do love that application. What I think Paul is trying to get us to see there is that there is a part of most marriages, a lot of people's go-to is to avoid. And avoidance is never the answer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get so lost in the
timestamp.
The timestamp.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'd actually go the other way, not to countermand what Paul is saying, but I also know that nothing good happens at 2 a.m.
No.
And sometimes trying to wade through an emotional topic when you're emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted is not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So Paul saying, don't let the sun go down upon your wrath does not mean that all solutions have to be delivered and agreed upon before you can go to bed.
Right.
No, he's saying don't put things off and don't let it just simmer under the surface.
yeah.
And then it becomes cancerous.
And I think also there's a misunderstanding because I've heard people say that like, oh, we don't go to bed angry. And they take that to mean like we've got to see this conversation through till the bitter end until it's resolved. And I think that that's also a misunderstanding and where a lot of people get tripped up because ultimately the person responsible for fixing my anger isn't Josh.
Right.
So if I'm
Yep,
supposed
talk
to
about
not
that.
go to bed angry, like the answer for that isn't, well, I can't go to bed angry, so you've got to stay awake until 3 a.m.
fight it out.
until we figure it out. The answer is, hey, Kaleigh, like you need to let your husband sleep. And maybe before you go to bed, you need to turn that anger over to God. Like
that's really
maybe you need to go, okay, hey God, like we're not able to resolve this. Like I need you to take it. And I also think there's something powerful about saying, hey, I'm gonna, all right, God, like you watch over that for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? In the morning, I don't have to pick it back up again. I think sometimes we rehearse our anger, it's that thing of like when your spouse leaves for work and you were fighting and you spend the whole day having to remind yourself like, oh, right, I'm not laughing at any of the memes he sends me. Right. I forgot. Like we're still mad at him.
Yeah.
It's like, no, if you find that your anger goes away, you don't actually have to.
Yeah. Just to prove a point.
You don't have
Yeah.
to. You can have the discussion about whatever that was, but like, yeah. So I think too, sometimes we hold other people responsible for our emotions and that's not what that's saying either.
Yeah, to that end, how many things can make you angry? It feels different when it's your spouse or a close family member. But let's just say, hey, the war in Ukraine makes me angry. Or, the sex slave trafficking that's happening around the world, that makes me angry. Poverty. I mean, like there's so many like big ideas, right? Well, I can't.
Yeah.
If I went mad about everything, like if I got mad about everything and then I never slept because of it, all right, well then where do I get to rest? The Bible tells me to rest in God. And if I just said that out loud, somebody would be like, oh yeah, well it's different with your spouse. Well, no, what Kaleigh just said is very similar. Like there's a lot of things that are broken. There's a lot of things that are heavy. There's a lot of things that I worry about. But if I live in that and I don't turn it over to God, then I'm robbing myself of that peace, that resting. The Bible, David described it as trusting my shepherd has got me and let him lead me beside still waters into green pastures. I'm not doing that. I'm staying angry. I'm staying wrapped up in my emotions. And I think people just fail to then apply that to your spouse, because if Kaleigh has made me angry or anxious and I think Paul very well could have meant any of those, any of the emotions.
Sure.
Anger is probably the most common, but whether she makes me nervous or makes me confused or makes me angry, it's on me to make sure that I go to God with that. Because tomorrow morning that problem may still be there.
Sure.
And by the way, if we're in huge debt, I can't pay off that bill tonight.
Right.
So is the Bible saying I can't go to bed like until I get it paid off? No, but I do have to get to a place where I'm going, okay, I'm not going to just let this resonate in my heart and mind without bringing God in on it. So let me bring God in on it, turn it over to him, rest in him. And this is where he says, just be still and know that I'm God. And that is, if you can get it on that bigger scale, okay, like I said, the war in Ukraine, things going around on the globe that you watch on the news that are just horrible. If I can get to the place where I'm like, God, that hurts me, that confuses me, that scares me, that angers me, but I'm going to trust you. If you can hear me say that and that makes sense on that global scale, why can't you zoom that in all the way to your bedroom and go, okay, this person I'm laying next to is confusing me or scaring me or making me angry or frustrated. And God, I need to give that to you because tomorrow morning there's still going to be some problems and I still need to learn to trust you, and I got to figure out a way to work it out with them. And if I can get to there, then I begin to understand what Paul is saying. I'm not letting the sun set on my wrath, on my anger.
Yeah, that's great. Well, way better answers than I expected. I don't know what that says about me or you, but that was killer.
Let's go.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Score one for the Adamses.
Hey. Okay, so another thing that I thought was kind of cool and practical that I'm guessing you're not going to be able to talk about in your message, but I don't know. This is the appetizer. As we
It sounds like a dare to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just there's a verse in there that Paul says make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. I actually wondered, how does that come into play on a super practical level of your family calendar? How are you making the most, or do you need to get better at? I don't know where you're at, but for the listener, I think we everybody can agree that everybody is very busy. That's just the general vibe I'm getting all the time. And Paul says, make the most of every opportunity. How do I go about that intentionally when I'm planning my life?
Yeah.
How am I going to spend my actual hours?
You're speaking my love language. Maximizers unite. Let's go. Which, by the way, this is where Kaleigh, this is one of the areas where God has put two people different
Opposites,
together.
Yeah. So it's funny actually because I've had to learn a lot, from Josh as far as my default is let's just hang back and let's chill, and Josh is always, let's try and go and do something. But I will say in the past probably year or so, I've had a lot more opportunity to be busy. I think our kids are a little bit older, and so I'm finding myself having to choose between the good thing and the better thing a lot more often. And I just had one where I had bought tickets for a concert. I was pumped, and literally got up to the day before and he was out of town. And I just realized, you know what? The kids were on break that day, and it was the better thing was I need to just give my kids a full day of my attention where I'm not trying to run out the door at 4 and there's no one coming over. That was the thing. And that was hard because it's saying, no to something that's fun and not wrong and not a bad thing. But I think a lot of it is recognizing when your family, when your people need you. For me, what that a lot of times looks like is looking at maybe an opportunity over here that's a little bit flashier or a little bit more fun, and choosing instead oh, you know what, this person, maybe it's not my family, this person I know really wants to meet and they need to talk about something real and I need to make time for that. Or you know what, I want to go hang out with a bunch of people, but I haven't just spent a quiet night at home with my husband in a while, and kind of realizing I've said it before, but relationships are very, very inefficient. And it's a lot of sitting around and waiting. And I think that's hard in the fast pace. We're always wanting to do something. and with your spouse and with your kids, sometimes it's about canceling all your plans to leave yourself open for whatever.
Just to be available.
To be available for that conversation or, you know, when they might need you.
Yeah.
So I think that verse is actually a great reminder for everybody, single or married, because I don't know that it necessarily has a direct application to your family. I think it can. But we live in evil days. The Bible constantly talks about it gets more and more dark the closer we get to the return of Christ. And I know people are like, oh, well, you know, people have been waiting for Christ's return for 2,000 years. Yes. But that was a lot of what Jesus talked about was like, hey, the servant's job is to be ready. You don't know when the master returns, so you stay ready. Well, to make the most in this evil time, to me, reminds me of the servants keeping the candles lit, the lamps lit. Like, it's not my job to assume that I've got more time later to go get oil. Like, I have to do everything I can today to be pleasing God. Now, to Kayleigh's point, I'm sorry. Sometimes doing more means stopping all that I'm doing to hone in. Yes, but and so you got to let the Holy Spirit kind of direct you when it comes to your calendar.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's much as of a calendar advice as it is actually just a spiritual course corrector to the fact that we lose sight of this is actually our family, our marriage, our jobs. All of this is part of the journey of I'm waiting for the master's return.
Yeah.
So you as somebody who's single, maybe it's a listener, there's a grandparent listening to this, like, okay, well, how does that apply to my family? It really has more to do with you saying, I want to be diligent and faithful to steward my time, my job, my family, my calendar, my money, whatever, all in anticipation that Christ's return is imminent and that I don't want to be caught not ready. So, like, make the most of these dark days because you don't know how much time you have till you meet Jesus, either because he's coming back or because you're going to take your last breath.
So what does that actually look like for you?
To maximize it is where maybe maximize is the wrong term. It's just what appeals to me. To be ready in these dark days is, to me, a reminder that all the things I'm doing, whether it's with my kids, with my wife, at work, it's to serve Christ. So that does dictate if I take my kids to the park or if I spend some time hanging out in the living room with them. Either of those is better than me just coming home and picking up my cell phone and vegging out while, I let my kids go do something else. And we all have days. I get it. We all have days where we're tired, but I'm supposed to be making the most of it. And people are like, well, I'm tired. Yeah, well, you're going to have all of eternity to rest in God. You've got a few years on this planet to make the most in these dark times. So God has gifted me with kids to invest in. So I want to make the most of investing in them to be able to stand in the dark days in case I'm not around when they have to stand. He's given me a wife, so I want to invest in my wife. He's given me brothers and a sister and in-laws, and I've got parents, I've got friends, I've got a church that I'm a part of, I've got a job that I work. So I can easily just get up and go through the motions, or I can say, God, what does it look like today to try to take territory for you? And it might be that I need to take my friend Katie Rose out to lunch and just ask her about how her walk with God is. It might be that I need to stop playing a dumb game on my phone and text a friend who I haven't heard from if they're doing okay. And a lot of us, we can say, oh, yeah, okay, so be more apparent, be more aware. Yeah, that's kind of what Paul's saying. He's like, be more present. If you're going to do something that has eternal impact.
Worthwhile.
And that's really more the answer there.
Yeah, that's good.
And every day for me is a little bit different, which is I love my job. I love where God has me. Some days I fail at that because I'm just like, I just want to be lazy, or I want to push away from some of the heaviness of it.
Sure.
But the days that I think I'm a good steward or I'm a faithful servant, which is what I want to hear God say is well done. Those are the days where I look at what my options are and I choose the one that the Holy Spirit says this has the most kingdom impact. If we're honest, if Kaleigh and I are honest, when it comes to our family calendar, that is not always the easiest choice to find or to lean into.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it means canceling a big plan that we had.
A good thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means make a plan instead of laying around in your pajamas on the couch.
Right. Yeah.
And
both are hard.
She pushes me to rest, and I push her to maximize. And I think we need both of those, because there's times where both of those can glorify God.
Absolutely. For sure. That's really good. As we kind of draw toward the end of this, I do want to give you kind of just like a blank slate. You guys have been studying Ephesians chapter 5 on your own and together. So I'd just be curious to hear, like personally, what has been the biggest application for you out of it that you may not have time to dig into in the message because it needs to be broader? What's God been showing you specifically?
I'll let you kick that off.
No, I just did a lot of talking. And the thing that I heard loud and clear was not to cut off my wife during our podcast together.
I don't know when you would have heard that. Surely no one would have said something to you.
Don't worry,
Recently.
we addressed
To
it
that effect.
in last week's podcast on air live.
No.
Yeah, in a good way.
I love that. Oh, that's funny. I have to go back and watch it. So I think obviously like we're going to get into it on Sunday, and it's probably where I imagine we'll spend a good chunk of our time. But Ephesians 5 is kind of one of the big like hot button ones, especially when it comes to marriage and to men and women, because that is the passage where it really lays out like, okay, husbands love your wives and wives submit to your husbands. And I'm sure you've heard like as much good teaching on it as I've heard like a lot of really whack teaching.
Yeah.
And I, going over it again and kind of in prep, the thing that struck me, this is just, we may end up getting to say this, we may not, but the thing that struck me it says, specifically it says, when wives submit to your husbands, what it doesn't say is women submit to men. And that's important, I think, because you realize, this isn't about like feminism versus chauvinism, and this isn't about like men versus women, and this isn't about like, all right, make sure women know like their places in the kitchen.
Yeah, gender equality.
This is about God saying, this is my design for how a husband and wife are supposed to work together. And I think it's so interesting, and isn't it so like people that the first thing when we read a passage is we want to get our hackles up and figure out, well, then who's in charge here?
Yeah.
Rather than zooming out and going, all of Ephesians is looking at how God's people relate to one another. All of this is looking at how do we live as people under Christ and like in harmony with one another. And I think it's such a sad commentary that the thing that like we most often see coming out of studying this passage is this like pitting of men and women and all these conversations about like, complementarian marriage and egalitarian marriage. And it's like, it's just funny to me that like we always want to talk about who's in charge, and we never want to talk about how the Bible defines leadership, which is servanthood. And it's like, okay, women are in charge then? Well, that's crazy, because you know how the Bible defines being in charge? As being the first one to die.
Yeah.
As being the one to lay your life down. Like,
down.
okay, men are in charge? Cool. You know how the Bible defines leadership? Is servanthood.
Yeah.
And it's just very funny to me that it gets turned into this conversation about dominance when
like a power struggle.
right.
Yeah,
when
the
Jesus,
opposite.
the Bible says, Jesus, who was one with God, didn't see equality with God as something to be but instead humbled himself. And I think it is such if nothing else reveals like our inherent sin nature, the fact that we can take a passage like that and then immediately devolve into like the politics of like male and female relations is like, yeah. And if you didn't know it before, now you know.
We are broken.
We're broken.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
so broken.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that.
We're fighting. Like I'm fighting for that biblical. I want the Bible to say I'm the leader. Like you're going to get what you asked for.
You know what you're signing up for here, buddy?
It ain't the power trip. It ain't the sitting up top and being served.
It's washing feet.
It's being being the biggest servant. So the thing that I hope that we get to talk about, which is different, doing the podcast before we preach. The thing I hope we get to talk about, or in some way God at least lets it resonate with people that are hearing it. As I've been kind of preparing this message, my heart goes out to some of my friends who they are married to somebody who isn't a believer. And so, because they've asked me like, hey, how do I witness to my wife? How do I witness to my husband? How do I get this person to understand God's plan for marriage when they don't subscribe to God?
Right.
Whether they're fighting it or they're just aloof about it, or they're in complete denial. I don't know. And everybody's story is a little bit different, but it made me start looking at this from a different context of like, we all know like, okay, the groom is a picture of Jesus and the bride is a picture of the church. Okay, well then let me ask it a different way. All right. If I'm talking to a friend whose husband doesn't know Jesus and she's a believer, all right, then what is it that you're wanting? And maybe she is a believer and her husband's brand new and she wishes he was more the man of God or whatever. What is your testimony teaching him for how it is he's supposed to be? Or vice versa. Guys, what is your testimony teaching your unsaved wife or your baby Christian wife that you want to see this maturity in? Specifically, if I was talking to one of them and they're sitting there going like, I just wish my husband would get it. All right. Let's see him submit to the Lord at the exact level that you're submitting to him. Oh, I don't like that compared. Yeah, well, that's kind of, you get to teach. Guy, buddy, hey, you want your wife to love God? She's going to love God to the level that you love her. I don't think we think about it in this application of testimony. Like we talked earlier in this podcast of like Kaleigh and I can be an example to others.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if Kaleigh wasn't a Christian and I am a Christian and I want her to love God, well, she's going to, let's say that you could tell me today, Katie, Josh, your unsaved wife will love God to the level that you have demonstrated to her, the love that you have for her. Well, why? Well, if I'm the Christian, I'm supposed to be an example of God's love.
Yeah.
And what it looks like to love truly and passionately. Well, I want her to fall in love with God. Well, what if she only falls in love with God to the level that I love God? Meaning, as her husband, I know that she knows there's times I'm selfish. There's times I'm immature. Sure. There's times I'm hypocritical. Well, here it is. Here I am as a husband claiming I just want my wife to have this faith. Okay. Well, what if the only example she sees of that level of commitment is what she gets from me? Yeah. Well, now I have a greater responsibility of like, if I really want Kaleigh to fall in love with God and to give her heart to God, why wouldn't I lead by example as being the kind of husband that just does that for her? Because now she looks at me, a broken man, and goes, if that guy can love me like this,
yeah, how
much more could a perfect God? Or if I'm the lost husband and I'm sitting here watching my Christian wife go to church and I'm like, I'm not going to stupid church on a Sunday. I'm going to sleep in.
Yeah.
Well, she's like, I just wish my husband would love Jesus. I wish my husband would go after. Okay. Well, Paul said, demonstrate for him. Kaleigh, demonstrate for your lost husband, Josh, what it looks like for him to go after God by the way that you go after him. The way you surrender yourself to him, the way you trust him, the way you submit to him, the way you love him, that's going to be how he responds to God. So if Kaleigh, and here's the battle, if Kaleigh only submits to me, loves me, surrenders to me, comes after me when she gets something out of it, when she gets to manipulate it for her end, which is what a lot of wives do, well, then don't be surprised that your husband looks at a relationship with God as like, I'll do the God thing as long as I get something good out of it. As long as I can, my business grows, my life increases, things get better. Or, hey, dude, don't be surprised if the only time your wife actually considers God is when it's a shallow, fake, upfront thing that under the surface is all she's all rooted in her own desires, her own selfishness. Because you got a chance to model for her surrender, and you didn't. Does that make sense? I haven't. Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to get to preach it because I haven't got to flesh that out. But what if their love for God was the exact love that you show them? Are you actually doing a good job, or are you giving them every reason to stay phony or fake or hypocritical or shallow?
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting And I think that sometimes we discount, like, God really is a lot of times operating on, these, like, a lot of different levels. And we've said it before, but I believe that there are miracles on the other side of obedience. And so I think that there's something powerful. I know that for me, something really powerful changed in our marriage and also in my relationship with God when I stopped seeing everything that Josh wanted. Like, it was so easy for me to, like, dismiss so many things as stupid. And I can...
Whoa.
I can see how that would have been easy.
And it's
whatever.
There's really serious things, but there's there's really dumb. My car is like half the time just a trash boat.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
relatable.
It's just and that really bothers him. Like, I know that it bothers him. I know that it upsets him. And there was, like, times where I'd just be like, that's stupid that bothers him.
Sure, who cares?
And
Move on. Yeah.
And I say this because I think a lot of times we hear, like, words like submission and everybody kind of freaks out and they're like, and I'm like, no, it's as simple as, I know that my husband thinks it's really gross when my car is disgusting. And submission says, I believe that his thoughts and opinions and feelings are important.
Yeah.
And worthy of respect and worthy of honor. It's not, he's going to, I don't even know, like, if I don't clean my car, Dad's going to take it away. Like,
right, yeah.
And as a man, I think if that's how you're trying, like, I think you're really
probably doing it wrong.
You're like doing bad. If, like, that's your, like, you better listen to me or I'm going to take your, like, that's weird.
Yes.
I don't know what planet, like, I don't think people are doing that.
Yeah.
I hope. But something really changed when I went, for no other reason than I respect my husband and I respect his feelings. I'm going to, like, try and, to do a better job keeping my car clean.
Yeah.
And, like, don't go in my car right now. It'll ruin this whole illustration. but I wasn't considering how big of a deal that was to him and how much a huge stack of all those little things was, like, creating a distrust between us. And when I started taking those steps towards him, it really changed the temperature of our home and of our marriage, and it also changed the way that I related to God.
Yeah.
And I started just seeing things in my relationship with God different, and I found that Josh responded to me differently. And so I really just encourage the people listening, like, there's a lot of really cool stuff on the other side of just not being stubborn.
Yeah, and actually just, like, trusting God that his design is the better way.
Like, wait, my husband sees things that I don't, and respecting him and respecting his opinions and not dismissing them, that might make me better.
Yeah.
That might make me more disciplined. That might make me a more respectable person.
Yeah.
Why on earth am I pushing back on this? Why?
Right, to what end?
To what end?
Yeah.
So that I can fight for my right to have a disgusting car? That's crazy. Like,
Well, what I was trying to say is that just you're talking about this as you and I are both believers. We're both Christians. What I was saying earlier was, like, if I'm not a believer and I'm watching you struggle with, like I don't have to, maybe I don't go to church, I don't believe in God, but I want you to clean your
100%.
car. And you're like, that's stupid. It's my car. It doesn't matter if there's Dunkin' cups in the floor. It doesn't. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, then don't be surprised that if you're the only Christian I know, or you're the biggest Christian I know, the one I know the most, anyways, and that's what I see from you as an act of submission, then don't be surprised if that's my level of understanding of what submission looks like.
absolutely.
Is I'm going, like, I'll like God up until I don't agree with God. Yeah, if it's inconvenient.
Yep.
And then I think, husbands and wives that are Christians, when their spouse doesn't come to church, they hear it and they're like, what more can I do? And I'm like, you can be the picture to them of what it is you want for them to do to God.
Yep.
But then when it comes time, and I think there's some of them listening to this right now and they're going, yeah, I get it. No. When your husband says, like, I wish you wouldn't let the car get down to E and then drive with the light on forever because I worry about you. Well, that's stupid, and it's never going to be. All right, well then, thank you for demonstrating to me what it looks like to submit. Thank you for demonstrating for what it looks like to trust and to obey. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do with God. Well, no, I want you to do it. Okay, well, same thing.
Yep.
You might be sitting there telling me, like, Josh, it really bothers me, when you don't take serious the things that we have planned for our family, and you mess up our calendar, and I'm like, well, Kaleigh, I can't help it. The guys want to go golfing this weekend. I'm going to go. All right. Well, I just demonstrated. If my wife wasn't a Christian, I just demonstrated for her, like, thank you. I do love you up until it gets in the way of my plans. So how can I then be frustrated or disappointed when my wife, who doesn't know Christ, responds to God as, yeah, I'll give it a thought as long as it's not inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like your
absolutely.
example helped me put together what I was trying
More
to
practical.
think through.
Yeah.
Sorry. But
No,
it's
and
good.
and yes,
Yeah.
nailed it. Go team, go.
Go team.
it's such a complex illustration, but yet it's so simple at the
When
same
you work it
time.
out,
and
yeah.
and there's so much depth there
Yeah.
that I don't think we realize the power that God has given us in our marriages as a testimony outward, but inside of our marriages as a testimony to one another.
Yeah. Yeah. And mostly what I'm hearing is like, if you really loved your wife, you'd clean her car for her. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point. That's a good point.
You need a hazmat suit, but
Awesome.
but no, we get to
Yeah.
we get to preach the gospel to our spouse every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
By the way that we
on.
love them, by the way that we show them respect,
Mm.
and if
Let's
you're
expand it. Let's expand it for the Katie Roses and the people who are like, it's not just marriage. You
absolutely.
get to
But to your- but
display
to your
Christ
relationship.
to every
absolutely
relationship.
in the way that you do that, and to your point, if that's great, if your friends are believers and if your spouse is a believer, cool, then you're reinforcing that, and if they're not, then like all of these little things
Yeah, come on.
matter, and that matters, and I think that gospel speaks a lot more loudly than like, oh, what a like shout Bible verses at you.
Yeah, which then I think feeds right into the idea of making the most of every opportunity, right?
100%.
Like on our own, a clean car doesn't mean crap, honestly. But in God's hands, if we're really taking this seriously, actually, this can be an opportunity to like show genuine love,
Right.
with a very simple act. You know?
yeah.
And that can be true of everything. If
He
we're
can
really
use
bringing
anything he
forward
wants.
God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys.
That's a
We've
great
been
point.
talking for a while.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. I'm psyched to hear the message.
Always a pleasure.
And like,
Katie
you're
Rose.
welcome if I gave you any ideas.
You
but
like did.
you don't have to give me credit.
We won't.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
100% non-Katie Rose inspired.
No way. No, but I'm psyched to hear from you guys. And yeah, appreciate this chance to get to chat about it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I would say this for anybody who's listening to the podcast and is eager to like get poured into their marriage. Our church is working on a program that we're calling Re-Engage that we'll be offering in 2026. That I would really encourage you guys to be leaning in towards to do something like that. But you don't have to wait that long because we have a marriage conference coming up.
That's right.
So
in March.
much cool stuff.
Yeah,
March, first week of March is going to be big.
Go to Harbor.Church.com/events right now. Sign
Right
up.
now,
Do it
sign
right
up.
now.
Get that
Do
early
it.
bird pricing while it lasts.
Yes. If you're listening to it right now, if it's still the fall of 2025, you've got early bird pricing for what may be one of the best resources for marriages. It's going to be 2 nights, which is double the amount of nights that we had last time.
So
Double the nights.
Hey,
double the amount of
double the
sessions.
fun.
It's going to be
Not
double the
how I
fun,
thought that
double the
sentence was
growth.
gonna end.
It's going to be double everything.
Double
It's so good. It's going to be so good.
Yep.
But it's going to be a lot of practical stuff. So if your marriage is on the rocks, you need to come. And man, this could be truly life-saving. But if your marriage is great and you're like, I just want to keep it that way, then cool, come.
Spend some
And
intentional
just
time together.
just put a
gonna be
little
sweet.
time, fine-tune the engine. Come
It's
on.
gonna be sick. It's gonna be in Boston.
Yeah. Well, South Shore.
Quincy.
Quincy's a little,
Yeah.
It's
You
gonna
know,
be great.
Let's be realistic.
It's gonna be so cool.
We're going to run into those people from Weymouth. And then,
Hey,
Ew.
easy does it. All right, gang. Thank you for
right.
listening.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
We'll
Love
catch
you
you
guys.
next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.